Welcome everybody to 12 quick random comic book story reviews, where I blindly pick a bunch of comic books off one of my shelves. I'll say a few sentences about them with very little spoilers, and then I'll give them a grade. So let's get started with this episode. Alright everybody, let's start out with a banger. Luther, Man of Steel by Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermejo. Okay, now there are ideas, concepts, and dialogue in this story that you will expect, that you will predict. However, there are ideas and dialogue you won't expect, and that's the beauty of this story. I would recommend reading this book slowly because Lex's manipulations are done sneaky and quickly. Now, this isn't a Deadpool book, so you must do some second-tier thinking, which I appreciate. Now, a perfect example of this involves the Bruce Wayne scenes, and though they seem kinda confusing, if you read between the lines, it's pretty amazing. A-. Move on to another banger, Secret Wars 2. This is a truly brutal undertaking to read this. The book has this pleasant demeanor to it, so you can't hate it too much, but it's terribly, delightfully boring. Now warning, you may not finish it if you attempt to get through it. This is writer Jim Shooter trying to be Chris Claremont, trying to have depth, but in some parts, mainly the last issues, it sort of succeeds. When it means to be funny, it works, and Molecule Man is in it, and he continues to be a fascinating character that saves this from being an F-D-. Next, let's do Blood Hunt. While reading this, your head won't explode with awesomeness, but this is a decent read by Jed MacKay. It does follow the standard layout of a huge comic book event, but also contains some satisfying aspects, such as the new intriguing monster group called the Blood Coven, which I wish was explored more in this book. Blade is done excellent, and Dr. Doom is written how Doom should be. The art and the coloring are beautiful, and the ending leaves you wanting to know more of what happens in the next storyline. This is pretty well done. B-. Okay, next I'm doing Red Hood and the Outlaws, Dark Trinity, Rebirth. I love Jason Todd and I think it is clever. The whole Bizarro and Artemis Dark Trinity thing, it plays tribute to the original Trinity. There's some good chemistry between the characters, but it's not entirely what I want out of a Red Hood book. I also like Jason going undercover to take down one of my favorite rogues, Black Mask, but the plot overall is flat. Writer Scott Lobdell did good, and Dexter Soy handed in excellent art, but I'm giving it a C. Okay, next let's go Squadron Supreme by Mark Grutenwald. This is 1985, and this is such a wordy story with too much exposition, and I usually drown in this much dialogue, but this story is the exception. This is an incredible book with awesome characters from Nighthawk to Tom Thumb, and an awesome conflict. It takes a lot to read, but the journey is so worth it. This is a crazy good story, and I will forever adore this book. A. Okay, let's get into Batman, 10 Nights of the Beast. For what happens in this story, I feel the tone should be much more darker. A whole lot of people die, and the book handles it sort of nonchalantly. The feel of the story should be closer to Starlin's The Cult, but it's like a robot book. There's no emotions at all. Also, the story has some head-scratching parts in the plot, and it's far from perfect. But with all that being said, I still really enjoyed the story, and I certainly enjoyed the ending. And it introduces KG Beast, and he is a Terra. He's menacing. He may be more frightening than Bane. B-. Alright, coming up next we got King Thor. This is Jason Aaron's conclusion to his celebrated Thor run, and it's just okay. It's a watered-down, predictable version of the God Butcher storyline 7 years before, but is not nearly as compelling. Even Sadovic's art is subpar compared to his old work. I'm telling you, I used to think of him as one of the greatest artists, but he keeps declining throughout the years. Things I like the Goddesses of Thunder, Thor's granddaughters, I like the cycling back to the first story arc's villain Gore, but this book was just too irritating, the fighting scenes are tiresome, and it's too lackluster for a high grade. C-. Okay, let's go with Moon Knight, The Bottom. This is a vicious book. This is super engrossing. The first time I read The Bottom, it grabbed my attention, and for 6 issues, I wasn't even living in this reality. I was immersed in this world. That is what the best stories can do. And in this run, Moon Knight is a real psycho. He's grim, he's brutal, and I love it. The only part that is weak is the interpretation of Taskmaster, which is unexcusable. But despite all that, A. Alright, we're going to go to Secret Avengers, Mission to Mars. Now, I remember hearing Ed Brubaker, the writer, and how he was going to do an espionage Avengers series, and I thought, well, Brubaker has some success and talent in that area, and I was excited. I looked at the lineup. There was Cap, Black Widow, there was Moon Knight. Oh, that's excellent. That's going in a new direction. But Nova? Now, I love Richard Rider, but this seemed questionable. You had Valkyrie, and then you had Beast, who I don't think would agree with the whole spying, breaking, and entering thing. And then they go to Mars. It is so dreadful and super uninspiring. Every page is worse than the last. This may be Brubaker's worst writing. F. Alright, let's move on to one of the most celebrated DC events, Sinestro Corps War. This is a difficult read for me. First off, every page looks the same. I turn the page, looks the same as the last page. Second, it's the same repetitive dialogue over and over again. Every sentence ends with the word fear. The story keeps bringing up the same past stories 100 times. Coast City is destroyed. Hal Jordan, you were possessed by Parallax. Sinestro, at one time, was the greatest Green Lantern. We know. The Guardians are annoying as always. Kilowog fights Akilo like 3 different times. Reading this is like living a reoccurring nightmare. Issue number 1 is the same as issue number 8. The best parts are artist Ivan Reis's splash pages, which are gorgeous, and there's like a dozen of them, which is great. D-. Okay, let's move on to Captain America: No Escape. I apologize for having 2 Ed Brubaker books in an episode, but this is what I picked, and this one's better than Mission to Mars. So Bucky was Cap for about 3 to 4 years, and I never liked it. The costume was awful, personality was all wrong, and at this point in the run, it's getting pretty tiresome. It's the same rigid dialogue, the probable plots. However, this story is kind of pleasant, and I'm a sucker for Baron Zemo, and the concept of his revenge plan was good, but this is far from special. C. Coming up last for this episode is Wolverine Origin, executed brilliantly. The atmosphere created in this story is tremendous. It reminds you of those 90s period piece films like Far and Away and Legend of the Falls. The twists and the turns, the plotting and the coloring is marvelous. At this time, with the success of the X-Men movies, Marvel needed to get Wolverine's origin out first. And there was a lot of pressure on writer Paul Jenkins to deliver on this origin, and he nails it. I always get a warm feeling in my heart when I think about this book. A. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching this episode, but I'll be back real soon with another 12 quick, random comic book story review.